Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Session. My name is Oluyemi Adeosun, and tonight we'll be looking at the topic, accelerating trust and collaboration between senior and junior HR professionals. I must say that this topic was actually suggested by one of our members on the HR mentorship community, and my spirit just connected, and I was glad when Madam Tosin Mayowa decided to pick up this topic and do justice to it. I've also been very privy to the slides, and a lot lies in stock for us tonight. Please fasten your seatbelt. Reach out to 1, 2, 3, 4 colleagues, mentees, associates that should be on this call, because this is a must-attend masterclass. Tonight, we have the pleasure to have with us Tosin Mayowa, and I would like to read our profile for our listening pleasure. Tosin is currently the Human Resource Director at the Smith Sisters Group Limited, and she's also the lead consultant for Anok Consulting Limited. She's an insightful, compassionate, and effective talent manager with expertise in talent acquisition, performance management, employee experience, career counseling, and business development. She's equipped with extensive background in psychology with specialization in industrial and organizational psychology. She's a people and culture strategist, training facilitator, career coach, and a mentor to many. She holds a senior professional in human resource international SPHRI certification and is an alumna of the University of Ibadan. Can somebody say the first and the best? Where she got a BSc in psychology. She also holds a master's degree from the University of Lagos and currently a PhD scholar at the same University of Lagos. She has a human resource license with Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, CIPM, and she's an associate member of CIPM. Ladies and gentlemen, she is also, let me move on very quickly. Some of her core competencies, as earlier highlighted, includes performance management, talent acquisition and retention, career coaching and mentorship, employee engagement, leadership training, and organizational development. Ladies and gentlemen, she's a mother of 3 amazing children, and she's also a Christian. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking to us tonight on the topic, accelerating trust, collaboration between senior and junior HR professionals. Let's receive and welcome the ministration of Madam Tosin Mayowa. You have the floor, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir, for that amazing introduction. Thank you, everyone, for joining tonight. I must say that it is a privilege to facilitate one of the HR mentorship webinars, and I would say I'm a first-time facilitator here, and I count it as a privilege to take on this topic tonight. So I'll be talking on the topic, accelerating trust and collaboration between senior and junior HR professionals. I must say that this topic is something that every HR professional out there will connect with, whether you are a senior professional or you are a junior professional or you are a mid-level professional. Every HR professional out there would connect with this topic. So, not to waste much of our time, let's just go straight into the webinar. So this presentation explores practical strategies to accelerate trust and collaboration between HR professionals across experience levels. And at the end of this webinar, we should be able to meet the following objectives. The first objective that we'll be meeting at the end of this webinar is that we'll create openness and we'll dismantle the hierarchy. Somebody said dismantle the hierarchy. We all know that there are hierarchy to this HR profession thing. You know, somebody saying, this is HR intern, HR assistant, and we have the HR managers, and then we have the C-suites, the HR directors, the CHROs, and the likes. So tonight we are going to be creating openness across these levels, and we are going to be dismantling the hierarchy. The second objective that we are going to address the surface perception and assumptions that have hindered collaboration among HR professionals. We are also going to be establishing the trust building behavior for both senior and the junior levels. We are going to practice real collaboration across all levels, and we are going to design a sustainable framework that can be adopted after this webinar. We are going to be translating this learning into workplace culture, and then we are going to encourage pairs of mentors, reverse mentors for ongoing collaboration. Introduction. So, one of the less discussed challenge among HR professionals themselves is the trust and collaboration gap that exists between the senior and the junior HR professionals in the workplace. For every HR professional out there, at some point in your career, you have questions and you wish, especially for those of us who are middle and senior level HR professional, while we were HR interns, while we were transitioning, or you were HR assistants, at some point we had questions. We wish we had people who could, mentor us, who could hold our hand, while we stumble or while we transition into this HR professional. And I think it is high time that we discuss about this gap that exists, the challenges that we face on a daily basis as HR professional, even within the HR team itself. So in today's dynamic workplace, the human resource function is expected to be both strategic partners to business and to champion employee experience. What does this mean? It means that as HR professionals, even while we are expected to shape the culture of the workplace, we are also expected to be strategic in all our, policies and processes. The trust and collaboration between senior and junior HR professionals can break HR credibility in an organization, which in turn determines employee experience. So as HR professionals, our job is to shape the culture of the workplace, yes? So if as HR professionals or the HR team in an organization is not working together, they are not united, they are not working together as a team, they are unable to, trust each other's, policies, ideas, decisions, there will be a way to drive positive employee experience. So if there's a popular saying that says you can't give what you don't have. If HR team is supposed to build a positive work environment, it's not united, there is no way they can, create a healthy workplace for the entire organization. So as organizations try to adapt to the new rapid pace of change and innovation, of course, we know that all organizations, all businesses now are changing drastically. If they are not building structure, they are rebranding, they are re-strategizing. So there is a high pace of change and innovation that is happening in the workplace today. So the value of cultivating a collaborative and ownership-driven team cannot be overstated. So this means that empowering team has become a cornerstone for achieving a sustainable growth and competitiveness, most especially in the team. So what this means is that as the organization is changing, as the organization is growing, as HR professionals, we are also expected to be growing, to be strategic, and to move fast in alignment with the growth of the company. There is a saying that says, trust begins when we see each other as people first and role second. So this means that, well, we are already going into the topic that says one of the ways to build, to build a positive work environment is for us to see each other as people first. Like one of my mentees usually say, that we should not always forget the human part of human resources. This means that we are first human before we are employees in the workplace. So as HR professionals, it is important that there is trust and collaboration within our team. So as we are going to be learning in this webinar, that the seniors, of course, have their own advantage that they bring to the workplace. The juniors also have their own advantage. Another level of HR professionals that is not stated in the topic, but I'll also be talking about, are the mid-level HR professionals. So as we are going to be learning that the seniors bring depth of experience, they have organizational wisdom, and they are strategic in their thinking, while the junior injects fresh thinking, digital fluency, agility, and adaptability. But when trust is lacking and collaboration is weak, HR runs the risk of undermining its own credibility, effectiveness, and future pipeline of leaders. So what this means is that if there's no trust and there's no collaboration between the seniors and the juniors, then it will be difficult, or that the HR team will eventually build build leaders, or they will eventually have pipeline of leaders who are not sound enough. Because even though some of us tag the senior professionals as archaic or as stale, they still have the value that they bring into the workplace. They have the value that they bring into the professional, We cannot underestimate that. So HR is one of the few functions where age, experience, knowledge gap are strongly affect perception and contribution, but each level brings its unique value. So when you see job ads for HR professionals, you see HR intern, they are talking about the years of experience that they want, the certification that they want, and all that. So we can say that, we can all agree that HR profession has, different criteria, different functions, and where age comes in, years of experience comes in, and the knowledge gap, which is what the senior professionals bring into the team. So there are some terms that we'll be using in the course of this webinar, and I would just like to quickly run us through the definitions of each of these terms, so that when we start using them in the course of the webinar, it will not be strange to us. One of it is trust. Of course, the topic says that we are building trust and collaboration between HR professionals. So what is trust? Trust is a psychological state based on the willingness to be vulnerable to the other persons, whether actions or words. So what does this mean? It means that if I am saying that I'm trusting Dr. Oluyemi, that means that I am willing to subject myself to his actions and his word. What does this mean? It means that when he says A or B, I am not fact-checking it. I am not second-guessing it. I'm not conducting further investigation to be sure if that A that he has said is truly A, or if the B he has said is truly B. That means I have trusted him. If he says that, if he develops a policy or he brings an idea, I trust that that idea is coming from a place of, fairness, objectiveness, experience, and knowledge. So I'm not second guessing. I'm not trying to, second guess, to doubt whatever it is that he's saying. So that's basically what trust means. It's a psychological state, of the other person's willingness. Of course, both parties, it should be mutually, inclusive, if I can say that. Willingness for both parties to, trust, to, believe and be willing to subject themselves to each other person's ideas, actions, and words. So we'll go to collaboration. What is collaboration? Collaboration is the process of two or more people working together towards a common goal. So it means that we want to achieve a goal of doing a team bonding activity. So we have two people in the team. We have a senior professional and a junior professional working together, coming up with a plan, trying to, brainstorm about location, the kind of activities that they should include in the team bonding. So that's just basically what collaboration is all about. Two people working together to achieve a common goal. We're also going to be using the word psychological safety. What is psychological safety? Psychological safety is the belief that one can express themselves without fear of negative consequence. So this means that in the workplace, whether I am a senior HR professional or I'm a junior HR professional, I can boldly and expressly express myself, that my junior colleague does not feel intimidated, or my senior colleague does not, shut me down, and I'm not worried or scared about saying anything. So that's psychological safety. If you are in any environment that you cannot really express yourself without negative consequence or without negative, feedback, then that's environment is not psychologically safe. People talk about, oh, my mental health, oh, this workplace is toxic and all that. So basically, our psychological state is very important for us as HR professionals, because most of our activities are mental activities. So if as a HR professional, you're in an environment that you are not psychologically safe, meaning that you are not able to express yourself, of course, there will be issues, and this in turn affects performance of the employee. So we have, like I said earlier, we have several HR experience levels, and each of these levels have the contribution that they bring into the workplace. So this is one of the most interesting aspects of this webinar, while I was preparing and making some research and findings, and I find it really interesting and amusing that each of these levels have their own unique contribution that they bring. into the workplace. In fact, that they even bring into the profession as a whole, as HR. So we have the entry level HR professionals, we have the mid-level. Like I said, the mid-level was not, captured in the topic, but it exists somewhere in that, hierarchy, and we need to talk about it. And then we have the senior level HR professionals. So the entry level HR professionals constitutes of the HR assistants, the HR officers, the HR trainees, and HR interns. It depends on what you have in your own, workplace. So the typical profile of these entry level HR professionals are fresh graduates, maybe corpers, or those who have within 0 to 3 years experience. In fact, some of them might actually have other work experience. Some of them might be transitioning into HR. So because they have little or no experience in HR, we can still categorize them as entry level. And then this level of HR professionals have their strengths. Like I said, they all have their unique contributions that they are bringing to the team. So the strength of the entry-level HR professional, one of their core strengths is energy. And then before I move on, we can also categorize the Gen Zs. We always talk about them all the time. We can also categorize them as entry-level HR professionals, of course, if they have within 0 to 3 years experience. One of their core strengths is energy, and one of their core contributions is adaptability. They bring enthusiasm, fresh ideas, and they are very open to learning. So you will have this HR level of HR professionals questioning every of your move, questioning every policy you bring up, questioning why you are doing this the way you are doing it, questioning every of your standard operating processes and asking why it is being done that way. And they are bringing fresh ideas to say that, oh, it can actually also be done this way and more. So these are one of the strengths of the entry-level HR professional. Another strength is that they are tech savvy. They are the AI people. They are the ones that are not willing to take up employment in your organization if you don't have an HRS or HRMS. And they are more comfortable with digital tools, social platform. The process execution, that means they ensure administrative tasks, onboarding. They are the one we task with the responsibility of documentation, onboarding, filing, and the likes, and they execute it correctly. And one of the core strengths of this, HR professionals that I like is that they are very diligent, and they also hold you accountable. If you tell an HR assistant, a human resource assistant, that maybe in the offer of employment that your resumption is 8 and your closing time is 5. In fact, I've had several experiences of my subordinates, or my junior colleagues at work carrying their bag and walking out of the office, and I'm like, where are you going? And they're like, oh, it's 5 p.m. and then they need to leave. It's just amusing that they of course, they ensure that they put in their best to ensure that they finish their tasks accordingly. So I like that about them, that they are very responsible and they are accountable. Another strength is that they bring new perspective. Of course, they always bring the outsider view, and then they always challenge every outdated practice. Even some of the practices that are not outdated, they just want to, hold you accountable to every word you say, for every policy you have. They want to know the idea behind why they should do things this way. And that is one of their core strengths, because they help the senior HR professionals to also do a form of maybe introspection, or to also check their own processes to be sure that they are also in line with current trends and the likes. So we have the mid-level HR professionals that were not captured in the topic, however they exist. And I must say that this level of HR professional are, well, I wouldn't say they are actually the ones doing the job. Of course, everybody is doing the job, but I still feel that they are the ones that are possibly in a way holding, the two extreme level of HR professionals together. So they are in the middle of the junior HR professional and the senior HR professional. So these are the HR business partners. They are the HR specialists. Like, you have your compensation and benefits manager, you have your performance manager, you have your L&D manager. So these specialists mostly fall between the mid-level HR professionals, and they are the professionals with 4 to 10 years experience. Some people can categorize them as, in fact, there are some research documents that categorize them from 5 to 10 years experience in the HR, profession. So the typical profile of these professionals are those who have built strong technical and interpersonal competencies. So like I said, they are like the middleman between the senior HR professional and the junior HR professional. So they have, over time, they have learned to build, technical skills. They have learned to build interpersonal competencies because they were once junior, and they have been able to, learn how to adapt and how to relate better with the senior HR professional. The strength of this one of the strengths of this mid-level is that they bridge between strategy and execution. That means they are the ones that interpret the business goals into HR deliverables. So for an entry-level HR professional, he doesn't even know why you are, conducting a team bonding. You just know that, oh, I'm supposed to conduct team bonding, I'm supposed to document this person. But these mid-level HR professionals connect both strategy and execution. It means that whatever HR processes that is in place, they ensure that it is in alignment with the business goals. Another strength and contribution of the mid-level professionals is that they are skilled in employee relations and conflict management because they already have the experience and they are skilled in navigating workplace disputes and maintaining culture. What this means is that over time, they have learned, again, how to, manage people. They've learned how to, handle grievances, how to, navigate workplace disputes, politics, and the likes. They also have socialization depth. They may excel in specific areas like talent development, labor relations, like I've said, because they have spent at least minimum of 5 years in the profession. They have, mastered this act of people relation. I think we can say that. They are also change agents. What does this mean? They understand the legacy practice, but they are adaptable enough to drive innovation. What this means is that these mid-level professionals also have fresh ideas that they also bring into the profession, but at the same time, they also understand legacy. They understand legacy because, they've had experience working with the senior professionals in the past. So we are at the third level of HR professionals. These are the top people, the ogas at the top, like we say. This constitutes of the HR directors, the head of human resource, the chief HR officers. These are categories of HR professionals with minimum of 10 years working experience as HR professionals and above. So we can, in this category, we have people with 20 years experience, 15 years experience, senior consultants. In fact, we still also have some retired but still consulting for probably MBAs and the likes. The typical profiles these are veterans with deep organizational and industry knowledge. One thing I value and honor about the senior level HR professionals is that they understand structure and they have a deep, knowledge of organizational structure. So if as HR professionals in your organization, you are discounting the knowledge or the place of these senior HR professionals, you are making a big mistake. Because like I said at the beginning, most organizations are changing, they are innovating, they are restructuring, they are rebranding. I can tell you, Bodi, that you need the expertise of these senior professionals to help, drive organizational change. You can't drive organizational change with your junior HR professionals. Of course, the mid-level, yes, they can try, but the senior level HR professionals are the ones that drive real change. I can typically say that. So the strength and contribution of this category of HR professionals are strategic alignment. They link HR practices directly to business outcome. So we talk about the mid-level, aligning the HR practices to organizational goals, but these seniors are the ones that actually link HR practices directly to business outcome. What does this mean? So we are saying that HR wants to conduct team bonding. We are going to the beach, we are buying food and drinks, and we have invoice of 6 million. These senior professionals are the ones that explain the ROI of this team bonding to the board or to the stakeholders to let them understand why team bonding will bring in productivity and then in turn increase revenue. So you cannot discount these senior professionals. They also have institutional memory. Like I said, they have strong and deep knowledge of organization structure. They understand organizational history. They understand culture, nuisance, and regulatory framework. These are professionals that have experienced maybe 5 times or 7 times minimum wage bill, adoption. They've experienced like 4 or 5 tenures of presidents. They understand how the public service work. They understand the policy, the policy behind every statutory, acts that we have to follow. So these senior professionals are needed in every organization, and you cannot, underestimate the influence or the knowledge that they bring. These are basically mentors. So for every mentor you see out there, they are in this senior level category. The coach, they groom the young HR professionals. They are experts in crisis management. They are skilled in handling labor disputes, downsizing. Like I said, these people have strong knowledge of organizational structure. They have history. They have, historical knowledge of how organization work, so they understand labor disputes. When you are downsizing at a larger scale, they understand it. They understand change management. And then they have influence at the board level. In fact, some organizations have limited age range of people that they admit into the board, or people that they make as partners in organization. So these senior level categories falls under there, and most stakeholders trust them more because they represent the people's agenda in executive decision making. So we have talked about the HR experience levels. Now, because this topic says we are looking at the trust and collaboration between senior and junior HR professionals, so we are going to be identifying the gaps that exist between the senior and the junior professionals and how to minimize them. Of course, we can all agree that gaps exist. Most of the junior HR professionals out there have questions. Most of the senior HR professionals out there have some perception about this, Gen Z's, these new HR professionals that are coming with international best practice and the likes. And sometimes these seniors are laughing at some of us, the the junior professionals, to say that these people don't know what they are saying, especially in places like Nigeria, that we are special. So there are some of these policies that, of course, might not fly, because so these senior HR professionals who have knowledge can guide us when we are adopting some of these international best practice. So there are gaps. For the entry-level HR assistants, HR officers, and trainees, they have limited exposure, especially to labor laws, to strategies and complex employee relations. So these people are the ones that do the filing, documentation, memo circulation. They don't really have, and most of them are probably fresh graduates. Most of them are just transitioning into HR, so they don't have deep knowledge of the labor laws. They really do not understand strategy deeply, and then most of them might not have this complex employee relations skill. So like we said, that the senior ones and the mid-level ones have over time been able to develop these skills. So this is one of the gaps that exists between the junior HR professional and the senior ones. So how do we minimize this gap? One of the ways to minimize this gap is that we pair the junior professionals with mentors. We can pair them with the mid-level, we can pair them with the seniors. We give them projects to carry out, and then of course report to the senior person, or the senior person follow up with them on each of these tasks that has been assigned to them, and then in the process guide them on how to achieve or complete the task. Another way to minimize, the gap that exists between these junior professionals is that we can assign projects on, because they are really skilled in digital tools. So we can assign projects where they would be making use of more of digital tools. So for example, you can ask them to use your ATS platform to screen out candidates for a particular role. So because this is one of their core area of strength, they would be able to, open up, embrace this, and want to, give in their best to achieve that. For the mid-level, sometimes the gap that exists is that they are finding balance between being policies enforcers and their strategic partner. How to minimize this is that we involve them in cross-functional projects, succession planning, and coaching entry-level staff. So I must say that some of these mid-level HR professionals, some of them might, one of the gap that exists is that some of them have grown, in fact, up to the level of maybe transitioning into seniors, but most of them still need a push. So for example, me taking on this webinar tonight, it was a push from someone who is a mid-level HR professional. You understand? So sometimes we need a push. So for a mid-level, HR professional that you are looking at, that, oh, this person has 10 years experience, I believe that he or she should be skilled, he or she should be able to handle this project. Sometimes they need a push. So sometimes it is as good as you assigning them a mentee to say that, oh, you are going to be coaching the new HR intern, you are going to be training, the entry-level employee, you are going to be conducting the induction and orientation program for new hires. So, that way you help, to fill that gap. You help to fill the doubts. You help to, clear the doubts that they have in themselves, because most of them came in as, oh, I'm issuing you a query, you have to do this, as policy enforcers, and then they are now growing to be strategic partners. So some of them are still trying to find their foot. Some of them are still doubting to say that, oh, can I actually do this? Some of them have this imposter syndrome that, oh, am I actually a senior professional? I had an experience of an HR assistant who had 5 years experience as HR assistant, and she's still applying for an HR assistant role. And during my conversation with this person, I got to discover that this person is actually fit to supervise the HR officers, and then, grow like that. So eventually we have to take this lady for a more senior role. So what am I saying is that one of the ways to, bridge the gap or minimize the gap that exists between these mid-level HR professionals and the senior ones is to involve them in, core HR activities, give them assign responsibilities to them, especially when you put them in charge of other people and hold them accountable. They tend to, rise up to the occasion and then, prove you right eventually. So the last category is the senior levels, and the gap that exists is that sometimes they are less agile, especially with new technology coming up, HRIS, HR. In fact, most of them did not use HRS, HRMS. Of course, we have majority of them that are also open to learning, that now know how to use this software. So most of them can be less agile using this, these digital tools. Imagine HR analytics, and then most of them run the risk of sticking to what they have always known or what have always worked for them. Some of these, veterans will tell you that, oh, this is what I've adopted for the past 20 years and it has worked for me, But the way to minimize this gap, the way to help them, understand that a gap actually exists, is that we encourage reverse mentoring. What do we call reverse mentoring? Reverse mentoring is when the junior professional is training or teaching or mentoring the senior ones, of course, especially just in, digital tools, how to navigate the HRIS or the HRMS that we use. Of course, they also, mentor them in, new HR trends. So this reverse mentorship talks about the senior person, of course, is also impacting knowledge on the junior professional, and then the junior professional is also impacting knowledge on the senior professional. That is what reverse mentorship is basically about. So we move on to understanding the trust gap and why it exists. So we've talked about the gaps that exist. Now we want to understand why this gap exists. The first one we'll be talking about is power dynamics. Power dynamics. The junior professionals often feel underestimated sometimes. Senior sees the juniors as untested. Sometimes we make comments like, oh, you don't know anything. This one does not know anything yet, And then the seniors often feels like the juniors lack experience. Also, the juniors also feel like the seniors are gatekeeping knowledge. Like I said, for someone like me, when I was, transitioning into HR, I was looking for a lot of, seniors that could mentor, that could train and all that. And some of us, are still in that space that don't want to, they are against people. Or of course with platform like access to, we get will, and then we get feedback and responses to this question. The reason gap is that the juniors feels like the seniors are keeping knowledge, and the seniors also feel like this junior, they don't know anything. They just came in and they are, stepping into places and they know their place, so to say. So power dynamics is one of the reasons why this gap exists. Another reason this gap. Okay. I think I have network issue. Okay. Another reason why this gap exists is generational differences. Of course, most of the junior levels are the Gen Zs, most of the mid levels are the millennials, and then most of the senior levels are the baby boomers. So because we have different generations trying to work together and collaborate in the workplace, they have different mentality, they perceive the world differently, and they perceive the workplace differently. So of course, it's going to create that gap. Communication style is different, expectations are different, the work rhythm varies, they have different mindsets, they have different work ethics. The senior ones and the mid-level ones can still stay at work till, after COB just to complete a particular task. Most of these Gen Zs will not wait. Once it's 5 p.m., they are out of there. So because of these differences in generation, perception, reading, communication style, and the likes, this gap also exists. Another reason why this gap exists is visibility of contribution. What does this mean? The seniors focus on strategy, the junior carry execution, but recognition isn't always balanced. Juniors may feel their efforts aren't recognized, while seniors worried about accountability. So for a senior professional that the junior HR is carrying his bag at 4 p.m. to say that it is COB already, when there is a task to be completed, this senior professional worries about the level of accountability and ownership this person is taking. At the same time, when the team works together, the senior person is the one that goes into the boardroom, the senior person is the one that attends the strategy meeting, and then maybe when they praise HR there, he comes back to his workplace without acknowledging the team members. So the junior ones also wants to feel recognized. It is just as good as you coming back from your meeting to, just give a positive feedback to your team to say that, oh, guys, you did well, this is the recognition that we got at the meeting. And then, they also feel like they are contributing to the growth of the business and the team. So it is the visibility contribution is one of the reasons. The seniors are saying these juniors are not accountable. The juniors are saying the seniors are not recognizing their efforts. So this is also one of the reasons why this gap exists. So we have two conceptual foundations that, of course, we've identified the levels of HR professionals, we've identified the gaps and why they exist. So now we would be looking into how to build that trust and collaboration. And we have two theories that have been identified in line with this topic that would help us, to base our solutions on. The first one is the social exchange theory. The social exchange theory is a psychological and sociological framework that explains how people form, maintain, and evaluate relationship. Of course, be it personal relationship, friendship, professional. The social exchange theory says that people evaluate their relationship based on constant benefit analysis and the principle of reciprocity. So this talks about being transactional. So for me, as a junior HR professional, what am I gaining from my senior HR colleague? As a senior HR colleague, what is this young HR girl, or what is this young HR guy? What's it contributing to this thing? So the exchange theory basically just talks about how people form a relationship based on cost and benefit. So I'm gaining a lot from you. Of course, I have a positive relationship with you. I trust you because you are impacting knowledge into me. I can work together with you. But for someone who is just taking from me, who is not impacting from me, I see no reason why I should be trusting this person. I see no reason why I should be collaborating with this person. So that's just what social exchange theory is talking about, how people form and evaluate their relationship based on cost and benefit. So the social exchange theory goes further to explain how relationships are maintained when there is a sense of fair exchange, or at least they believe that the benefits are worth the investment. So in this instance, the junior HR employee evaluates whether the salary, the recognition that they are getting, their career growth or work environment outweighs the stress, the effort, the workload, and the conflicts that exist between them and their senior colleagues. So it's as good as the junior HR professional saying, oh, I work extra hours and I'm not being recognized. Oh, is my salary even enough? Is this what I'm supposed to be earning and all that? And then the seniors too also assess the junior HR performance versus investment to say that I'm paying this guy 300K. Is he actually putting a 300K effort? So both the senior and the junior are evaluating themselves to say that, what am I benefiting? What is my cost of being, in a work environment or work relationship with this person? What am I benefiting? The junior also is also assessing, the senior. So that is basically what this social exchange theory is talking about. So the core idea of the social exchange theory is that people engage in relationship when they perceive that the reward outweighs the cost. Of course, when we are talking about cost and benefit, you always want your benefit to outweigh your cost. If your cost is outweighing your benefit, then you're not gaining anything. You are running at a loss. So people perceive that the reward, when people perceive that the reward they get from the relationship, of course, work relationship with their senior or junior colleagues outweigh the trust. And then that is when trust can only grow and be reciprocated. That means it is when I trust you. It is when I, benefit more from you. That's when I can trust you. Then we also have another, relevant concept, which is transformational leadership. So, where we are going into now is that we are looking at the ways how we can build the trust and how we can, ensure collaboration. So one of these, concepts is that for the senior professionals, they have to be transformational in their leadership style. So transformational leadership is the leadership style that focuses on inspiring and motivating their followers to achieve more than they thought possible by creating visions for them, by fostering commitment among the team, and driving positive change. So as senior and mid-level professionals in the HR space, it is our core responsibility to be transformational in our approach. How do we do this? By, encouraging people, the young HR, by, of course, this kind of platform HR mentorship, by creating such platform, providing enabling environment for them to learn and grow. Unlike the transactional leadership, of course, the social exchange theory talks about being transactional, but here the transformational leader appeals to higher value, purpose, and growth. HR seniors who adopt this leadership style lead by examples. And by leading by examples, they earn the respect and trust and admiration of the young HR, professional. They demonstrate integrity, set high ethical standard, and embody vision they promote. So as a young or junior HR in the workplace, I have, a line manager who is a maybe senior HR manager, the director, and this person has demonstrated high level of integrity. Of course, if my line manager is demonstrating a high level of integrity, I would also benefit from that. So if I'm benefiting from that, then that is when I can now trust this person. So for example, we have a disciplinary issue, and I can see that from the way my line manager addressed this issue, he was not biased, it was purely objective. Of course, I have learned something from that. And as a junior professional, I would also, that's something to admire. And because that person has led by example, I have gained something. and that means my benefits now is outweighing my cost of maybe probably I have to work, extra hours to, participate in that, disciplinary hearing or something. Some employee relation hearing like that take as long as hours, goes late into the night, because both parties are trying to, come to an agreement. So when the junior HR professional sees that he or she is learning more from the senior, then it is until then that this trust, can be built. So in the end, the senior boosts the junior engagement, innovation, job satisfaction, and loyalty, which lead to long-term commitment beyond immediate rewards. It enhances their morale, reduces turnover, and in turn drives organization growth. So in a nutshell, they are leaders who inspire, they are the ones who mentor, and they are the ones who engage, and foster collaboration across all levels. So now we move to strategies to build trust and collaboration. There are several strategies. Of course, I need to start, moving fast. So we have transparency in decision making. So as a senior professional, you are making a decision, be transparent, carry your team member along, let them know why you are making this decision, give them justification why you're making that decision, or give them justification why we should adopt this policy. That way they feel like a valued member of the team, they feel like their opinion and voices are heard. Another strategy to build trust and collaboration between your team is to clearly define roles. So for example, in a space where we have HR intern, we have HR assistant, we have HR supervisor, we have HR manager, like that. It is always important that we clarify the roles and responsibilities of each person so that we will not be, encroaching into each other's spaces. And by so doing, it can breed mistrust. So for example, HR assistant is supposed to be in charge of documentation, and maybe the HR manager or the HR supervisor's role is also not clearly defined. And then you see the HR supervisor also doing documentation, and then the HR assistant feels like, am I not doing this well? Or what is the issue? Why is this person trying to, micromanage me? And then this breeds mistrust, So role clarity is very important, that roles are clearly defined. Feedback loops, this is very important, especially for the senior level HR professionals. We should encourage feedback. For someone like me, it is not about blowing someone's trumpet, but I encourage feedback a lot. It is as good as once a week I call my team member to say, tell me, what are the things I'm doing that you don't like? What do you think I'm doing that is wrong? What do you think I'm doing that is not? It is very important for the senior ones to encourage. By doing that, you are providing psychological safety that we talked about earlier. Yes, for your team, let them be able to give you feedback, of course not insults, but positive and constructive feedback to you. If they are able to do that, then you are growing and you are moving. But if they are unable to give you feedback, even if the policies you are implementing, one thing you should know is that these junior HR professionals have close relationship with the workforce. Of course, as the HR director, maybe you're in one big office upstairs and you don't know what is happening. You cannot even feel the pulse of the workforce. It is these junior HR professionals that know what is happening. Probably they eat together in the canteen, they stay in the same company provided accommodation, and they gist all through the night. And these people understand. So if there is no opportunity or space for them to give you, constructive feedback, you are not open to hearing their ideas, you will just be making strategies, you'll be enforcing policies that are not effective, and then it can lead to high turnover at the end of the day, and then you're running helter-skelter trying to fill various roles. So another strategy to build trust and collaboration, like I've said earlier, is mentorship and reverse mentorship. Be open to learning, even from your younger professionals. The junior HR in your workplace, be open to learning. There are different apps now that you can even use to run payroll. You don't need to have millions to buy, HR softwares. And some of these young chaps know how to do most of these things. In fact, most of them are even as good as learning code, when they were in secondary school, and then they can just build something. They can just help you create one dashboard that you'll be using, So be open to reverse mentorship, be open to learning from these junior professionals. Joint projects, that's another strategy. Like I've said earlier, pair your senior or your mid-level HR with the junior HR. Let them carry out a task together. By doing so, they learn to work together to achieve that task or to complete that task. Along the line, they get to, work together and then collaborate. Shared recognition. It is important that you recognize your team member. It is as good as entering a meeting, going for a strategy meeting, and they are praising HR in that meeting. And when you get back, just to, let your team member feel that HR was praised in the meeting today. Is as good as, of course, if you can afford it, buying a bottle of malt and meat pie for your team member to say that, oh, you guys did well, this is the feedback from the stakeholders and all that. For the junior person, he or she feels like a valued member of the team, And this shared recognition is something that when you adopt it, you'll be surprised at how these younger ones take it serious. It's as good as me coming to work on a Monday and I'm seeing a packet of yogurt on my desk, and even my junior ones, we are competing now. The way, when I show this recognition, the following week, they're also appreciating and recognizing. So it creates a positive, work environment when we, of course, maybe for the seniors, apologies to the senior HR professionals, while some of us were, growing up, there's an assumption that, you don't praise people, so that when you praise them, it doesn't get into their head and all that. No. When people do well, praise them, let them see and feel that they have done well. So that way they're able to trust you as a leader, they're able to work together with you without, fear of being, misjudged or something. So the last one is building psychological safety. We have talked about psychological safety several times in the course of this webinar, that psychological safety is one of the strategies to build trust. When you have a work environment that is safe, the junior can talk to the senior HR professional, and there's no fear of negative feedback, or there's no negative vibe or something. So trust is not only built by policy, but by the consistent daily action. That is what all this strategy, talks about. If you are trying to build trust and collaboration, it's not by saying, this is our attendance management policy, so if you don't come to work by 8 p.m., you'll be sanctioned and all. Is that the way to build trust? No. It is by your own daily action. So we have several collaboration boosters that can help us even as we are adopting each of these strategies. These are boosters, like we have also mentioned. There are also the strategies that you can use: mentorship, reverse mentorship, joint projects, shadowing opportunities. Why does collaboration matter? Why is it really important that we collaborate? Shebi, I'm senior HR, let me stay in my lane. You are HR intern, stay on your lane. No, it is important that we collaborate. And why is it important? So juniors accelerate into strategic contribution. So for example, when you pair a senior with a junior to carry out a task, the junior learns from that senior and then eventually grow into a strategic contributor. The seniors avoid burnout and gain fresh perspective. So when you are the only one doing everything, your Gen Z 4 p.m., you don't carry bag, you don't come out, and you are the only one, and you are still there, trying to round up the task, you will burn out. But when your junior trusts you, admires you, respects you. I remember I think a year or 2 years back, I had new team member join my team, one the HR officer and one HR supervisor. And the first month when it's time to close, they just carry their bag and go. And at first I was trying to make effort to let them understand that, we have so many things to do, and that's why we brought you guys on board. Even if it's 5 p.m., we still need to. And they tell me that, no, man, that's what's stated in my contract. So at the point, I just let them pay to say that, okay, no problem. So I just continued my own work, do the little I can do, and then when they come back the next day, they continue. And let's say 4, 5 more, or 3, 4, 5 months down the line, and I'm carrying my bag, and I'm like, guy, are you guys not going? They're like, I still have a lot to finish, and I'm like, what? So it goes as far as we start making jest of each other that, so you cannot work late and not carry your bag when it's COB. So when you have a good collaboration with your team member, you will not burn out. You will not be left alone to do all the job alone. You understand? So this is one of the reasons why it's important to collaborate, and there should be trust among your team. Then the HR becomes a united, respected voice across the organization. So because as HR professionals, we are the ones to build employee experience, we are the ones to build a positive workplace culture. If we are not united, how do you effect that change? So the finance team, they can hear that every day in HR office, they used to fight. and shout. And the HR is coming to finance office to say that you people should stop fighting and stop making noise. They will not listen to you now. So when you have a united team as HR, your voice will be respected. They know that when the director is saying A, the HR manager is saying A, the HR assistant is saying A, everybody's saying A, and they are in their conduct, in the way they carry out their work, they can see that this is a united front. Nobody there goes against whatever policy comes out of that office. So that's why collaboration matters. So collaboration thrives when the senior brings strategy and the junior brings fresh insights. So we are rounding up. There are cultural foundations to building collaboration and trust. Like we said earlier, psychological safety. The juniors must feel safe when asking questions, and they can also disagree respectfully. So you should give them room to also disagree with your ideas. Let them also, express themselves. Recognition, like we have said, seniors should get credit for strategy, juniors for execution. Both should be celebrated equally. Shared purpose. Constant reminder that HR is the people's champion and not divided camp. So when the HR team share the same purpose, when they share the same, dream, they work together to achieve that purpose. Collaboration must be intentional and documented, not accidental. So there are tools and practice that we can, adopt. Sorry. HR roundtable discussion. So you can adopt like maybe a monthly or weekly HR meetings or HR roundtable or knowledge sharing section among the HR team. So maybe every week, every Friday, or every Monday, or once in a month, you guys come together, brainstorm, talk about the tasks that you have at hand, talk about policies you want to review, talk about, in fact, give each other's feedback about conduct, about grooming, about attitude and communication in the workplace. When you have these weekly or monthly roundtable, meetings, it helps to build trust. It helps to build collaboration. You'll be surprised that, this senior HR manager that I perceive as being a snob is actually friendly, because it is when you have these roundtable meetings that you get to, let down your guards, jokes, say some jokes and all that. So it helps to also build trust. Knowledge sharing platform, like I've said, like this HR mentorship platform now, it's a knowledge sharing platform whereby the seniors are there, the juniors are there, people can ask questions, people can give you different answers and opinion that helps you, to carry out your job with, having, of course, informed knowledge of what you want to work on. Team bonding, so it's important. Of course, we are HR professionals. Even if we don't organize team bonding for ourselves, we organize it for our team, for our company and organize. So when you organize team bonding, at this team bonding, it is not even in the workplace. It is just for you to catch crews and have fun. So when you organize such activities, you tend to bond together, you tend to see other side, of your colleague that you don't normally see in the workplace. Of course, when we see some of this other side, and then we are able to form another opinion entirely about this person, we are able to correct whatever idea that we have or perception we have about this person. Cross-generational learning, training programs where both junior and senior learn side by side, top down, talking about reverse mentorship again. So knowledge exchange is two-way and it is not one way. The junior should learn to, impart knowledge to the senior and the senior as well to the junior. So the future of HR depends not only on the tools, on the policy, structure, system, and strategy, but on how well HR professionals at all levels collaborate and trust each other. By breaking silos and investing in intentional relationship building, HR team can transform themselves from being divided by hierarchy to being united by purpose. When this happens, HR becomes the credible, innovative, and people-first function every organization needs. Despite age, experience, and knowledge gap that exists, every HR plays a critical role in an organization. The junior provides energy and fresh skills. The mid-level connects the people's strategy to operation. The seniors anchor the department with foresight and organizational wisdom. And the most successful HR functions intentionally blends this contribution into a cohesive, learning-focused team. What is the outcome of this webinar? Now, after this webinar, I believe that the junior HR professionals can now grow faster into strategic HR professionals that they are meant to be by, collaborating and trusting each other. The seniors then get the support that they need from their senior. The mid-level get the support that they need from the senior and fresh ideas without burning out. Then, as a whole, holistically, HR now earns respect across the company for being united, adaptive, and people first. How do we sustain the culture of trust and collaboration even after this webinar? I'm sure that we must have learned one or two things, but let it not end here in this webinar. How do we sustain it? How do we sustain this trust that we are thinking of building? After this webinar, some of us will say, oh, I'm going to organize a knowledge sharing section among my team, but is it just going to be a one-off idea? So we need to sustain and maintain this culture of building trust and collaboration. How do we do that? We should also understand, before we move into that what we have learned in this webinar today, building trust and collaboration, you can also adapt it to other teams. You can adapt it to the finance team. So it should not be limited to HR alone. Of course, there are some organizations that different departments do not see eyeball to eyeball. You can also try to build collaboration between two departments, between two sister companies. So it should not just be limited to HR professionals only. So how can we sustain this culture beyond this webinar? Ongoing mentorship, like I've said, reverse mentorship, ongoing mentorship, peer people in your organization, and let it be a continuous thing. Let it not just be a one-off idea that you just do once a year, and then in the next 3 years, that's when you remember that, let's do this team bonding again. Let it be a recurrent activity so that, you continue to shape, and then gradually you build that trust till your team becomes, fully aligned. Monthly HR roundtables for open dialogue. Like I've said, you can have it monthly, you can have it weekly, you can have it quarterly. It depends on, the time that you have and the kind of, business or industry you find yourself. Adopt a recognition system that aligns contributions at all levels. Learn to, maybe you do employee of the month. You can also do best HR of the month or something, just something to recognize your team member and the contribution and efforts that they put into the team. A living trust and collaboration charter revisited regularly. So it means that whatever strategy you choose to adopt, ensure that it is not a one-off. Consistency is also important when you are consistent in doing it. So, for example, your junior HR professional who has perceived you as one authoritarian, leader that does not listen to other people's idea, and then you come to work on Monday to say that, oh, let me hear that your idea, and the guy is feeling like, oh, okay, really? And then after hearing that idea, the guy comes next week to share an idea and you shut him out again, and then he goes back into his shell. So we should not make it a one-off thing. We should ensure that we are consistent in whatever strategy that we have chosen to adopt. These practices ensure the trust and collaboration become part of the HR culture and not a one-time event. So what is our call to action? So HR leaders everywhere, trust is the new currency of effectiveness in the workplace. So I encourage that we start building this trust deliberately between our team, whether seniors and juniors, and then watch your HR functions become the change agents your organization truly needs. I believe at the end of this webinar, I've been able to, do a little justice to the topic, building trust and collaboration between senior and junior HR professional. We have come to the end of the webinar. Thank you very much for listening in. So it's time for questions and answers. So if you have questions and questions or contribution, thank you, Elizabeth. If you have questions or contributions, kindly, raise your hand so that I can unmute you and give you the floor to ask questions. Contributions to our senior HR veterans. Please, we need your contribution. We need you to, also shed more light on what has been discussed earlier. So kindly raise up your hand. Kindly raise your hand so I can unmute you if you have any question. Do we have questions?
Thank you so much, Madam Tosin Mayowa. This was
Thank you,
an
sir.
excellent presentation, timely intervention, exhaustive and conclusive. Sometimes I tell people that 1 hour is a lot of time to do a lot of things if you know what to do. And you have demonstrated from your wealth of experience. Ladies and gentlemen, in case you like to say something, contribute something, or ask a question or a quick comment, this is the final boarding announcement. Otherwise, we would like to land this flight very safely so that we can continue to enjoy the rest of the weekend. All right, so it appears that due to the simplicity with which you have brought to us the nuggets, insights around this topic, there appears to be no question tonight. And for me, that's a good thing. So what we just do in this instance is to unmute and celebrate our facilitator for tonight, who has helped us to bridge the gap between we, the upcoming HR professionals, and you, the veterans.
Thank you for recognizing us veterans. So we retired but not tired. Old HR practitioners and consultants. Thank you very much, ma'am.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Can we get the slide, please?
So there's a question from Ramata.
Okay.
Ramatu, please. Now,
I
I'll
also
mute
have a
everybody
request.
again so that you can respond to the question quickly.
I have a
Okay.
request.
Madam Tosin, you may please unmute again and respond to the question. Any other comment, please drop in the chat box. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So reading Ramatu's question, how do we balance respect for experience with openness to new ways of thinking, especially in teams that mix different generations and background? How do we balance respect for experience with openness to new ways of thinking, especially in teams that mix different generations and backgrounds? Thank you very much, Ramatu, for this amazing question. So, like we have said in the course of this webinar, there are different strategies that you can use to balance, to build trust and to collaborate. One of it is, reverse mentorship. If the senior is open to it, of course, you cannot force. If the senior is not open to it, sometimes all you need is time, to prove yourself, or for the senior to prove himself. Like I said in the webinar, when I had 2 team members join my team, they did not understand why somebody would stay at work to work extra hours. They did not understand the way we were doing some things, and I let them be. But after a while, they saw that, oh, this person is just taking ownership. This person is just being accountability. They saw the passion I put into the work. They saw that I'm just for the business and I just want the business to succeed. And in no time, without even telling them anything, they adopted this way of, life, and in fact, they now became so more engrossed and passionate about the success of the business than I am. You understand? So sometimes all you just need to do is give time, prove yourself, give your, if you are the junior, give your junior HR time, maybe 3 months, give him space or her space to prove himself. If the senior person is not, open to conversations and feedback. So sometimes all you just need to do is give time. I don't know if I've been able to answer your question, Ramatu.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's quickly take Madam Princess' contribution or comment very briefly so that we can call it a wrap.
Thank you very briefly. I like I always say, this is to Ramatu and to everybody else as well. Like I always say, just in addition to what our presenter said, it's emotional intelligence is really very important in all of these things. There was a webinar we had, and we were talking about culture and climate. It's not enough to have a culture of doing things in a certain way, but what is the climate within that ambience? Is the climate an atmosphere where there's harmony? Is the climate an atmosphere where, is the culture an atmosphere where there's a climate of harmony, or is it one that is, you know, like we said, you know, hierarchical, respect me, I respect you, and so I can't come to you, you can't come to me. All of this will be a big determinant on how the cross-generational people can relate with each other. And it's all, if we go through all of the things that's been presented to us tonight, we'll be able to tease out some things, coupled with emotional intelligence and putting a right climate in the culture that you have in your organization to achieve very good communication. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Omoba wants to say something. Thank you very much, madam, for that amazing contribution.
Omoba just spoke.
Oh,
That's
okay.
me.
Okay. All right. Thank you, madam.
Thank you so much, Madam Tosin Mayowa. This has been excellent, phenomenal. I expected nothing less. God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, we call it a wrap here tonight. See you tomorrow at our next webinar session. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.